Yo, what's up, gamers? You're watching Proximity Chat, the gaming talk show where there are no free slots in suit inventory. I'm Greg Burns, your host, also known as Private Caboose, and joining me today is my co-host, Thomas Delzite, also known as Thomas EKFD, or as his friends call him, Thomas.
Yeah, no, that's how people have referred to me for the last 10 years. Yeah.
But in case you don't know, in this show, we choose a theme and talk about any game we want that fits said theme. So if you find yourself in Zero G or exploring hazardous alien planets, you may find yourself playing one of these games of today's theme. That's right, we're going to the one place capitalism hasn't reached yet: space!
It's the one place so far, although it's edging ever closer every single day.
Starting off, a game that I know I have found plenty of hours of enjoying, and by that I mean over 200, and I don't know how many hours you have in it, but I can only assume it's way more than me by like thousands. You have trillions of hours.
Probably not
Actually,
that
I'm
many.
sitting here today with founder of Ghost Ship Games himself, Eric Newell. I don't know who the founder of Ghost Ship Games is. I made up that name. Ghost Ships, please don't sue me. I love your content. I'm
We
sorry
can't
I forgot
afford to
your
be
name.
sued.
Anyway,
We're poor.
we're gonna talk about Deep Rock Galactic
Yes.
now.
Deep Rock Galactic was a weird one for me because it was not a game that I decided to sit down and play. It was actually one that my friend was like, "Oh, this game's really fun. You should play with me." And I kind of knew of it, but I had never actually looked at it. Like the name was very familiar. And then I started playing, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is kind of really fun." The only problem was that the first time I ever played it. So for those who don't know, the way that Deep Rock Galactic works is you have 4 different classes. There's Scout, which essentially has a zip line and can maneuver around really
It's not a
quickly.
zipline, it's a grapple gun.
Grappling hook,
There's a
yes, you're right.
difference.
The Gunner class is like big guns, can't move around very quickly, but does have a zip line for other people to get around. And it's weirdly more of a support class to an extent. The Driller.
Agree to disagree.
Okay. The Driller is like
I'll get into why later because I want to talk a little bit about mechanics, and that goes a lot into mechanics.
The Driller is like you have fuel in 2 big drills that you can also use as like a long-term melee weapon, like a constant melee weapon. So if you're like surrounded by people, you can just use it to crush bugs, but you can also use it to drill really fast. Whereas normally everyone has a pickaxe that you can use that kind of takes a little bit of time to use. And then the last one is what can I think of what the last one is? Engineer, who can put down like platforms and turrets. And the idea behind that one, I guess that one's more of a support class than any. But the first time I ever played it, I played Gunner, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I used all the zip lines because I didn't know that there was a limited amount. So we had one objective. I don't even remember what it was, but the objective that we were trying to do, we simply just couldn't do it because we had no way to reach it. And I think the first time I played, we were playing with 3 people. We had a scout, I was the gunner, and we had an engineer. So we ended up trying to build different platforms off of the engineer things, and the generation for the world, for whatever reason, was just this very deep hole that everything we needed was on top of. And because we had no way to get up to it, we were just falling into this hole and dying constantly and getting killed by everything. And we're like, well, that went poorly. And then we were like, maybe we'll start in the tutorial level or whatever the very easiest thing is. We'll start there and work our way up. And I eventually found that I greatly enjoyed the support, the scout class. And I don't think I've played anything but scout ever since.
I myself take pride in the fact that I use all 4 classes.
Oh, how bougie.
I know. I don't really have a favorite. Because honestly, it's just however I feel like playing.
That's understandable.
Really fun. Right now, I'm trying to get everybody up to silver prestiged. Because I got the scout up there first. I just need to get the other 3 up there now. Which it's been taking some grinding, but once I get everyone to silver, I'll be like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now everybody's gonna gold.
Because the way that the leveling works in that game, so you have your player level, and then you also have your class level, which goes up significantly faster than anything else. And you have to get your class level, is it 20 or 25? I'm pretty sure it's 25. So you get to 25, and then you don't level up anymore past that. You have to go through a promotion set of missions to basically get you it's like a star or your first rank. Again, it's been a while since I played it, so So
Yeah, you start off
apologies if
at
I'm a little fuzzy.
copper, and it's
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. Then you go to silver again, 1, 2, 3. Then it's gold. Then it's platinum, I think, or it's like the red thing. I don't know too much after gold, because but I think there's only like 5
Yeah.
sections you can go
But
through.
you can level up one character a lot of times.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think the most I'm like, I think I've prestiged Scout once. So I'm probably like Copper 1 star. I don't know how many levels past that I am. My player level's only probably like 12 or 13. The last maybe 14. The last time I
I'm
played.
really
It's not super
happy.
high.
Recently, I made it to. It's called career level, by the way.
Yeah.
Your player level. I recently made it to career 100.
Very nice.
So that's pretty fun. But yeah. So earlier you were talking about how which classes are support, which classes are not. Something I do enjoy about just the how classes were designed in Deep Rock makes it to where literally every class kind of does the same thing, but some classes do excel at certain
Yeah.
things. With like their terrain, and like each of the terrain tools like kind of show that as well, because like everybody can like mine, but the driller does it faster.
Yeah.
Everybody can run, but the scout does it faster with his grappling hook.
Yeah.
And everyone can go across a chasm, but the gunner does it fastest with his zip line. And like
Estimate.
everyone can like engineer's just there with his platform guns. I don't know how to say like everyone can do engineer. I mean, really, you can't. Engineer can place platforms. I guess he's the only unique one in this case. But yeah, so something I wanted to talk a little bit about Deep Rock is about how their classes work, which is really fun, especially with like creating your character, or not creating your class, but your loadout and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is really fun because in like most games, like you really do like in those sorts of games, they're balanced to the point of like this class is doing this class things, and it's really nice that Deep Rock allows it to where any class can do like anything
Yeah.
really, and it's all about like which like how you build your character and also how you play your character. One of my favorite class designs that I've done so far is my gunner. Absolutely love him because for most people they're playing gunner as like yeah the combat medic, like I have the shield, throw that down, and then they won't even worry about gunner unless they're doing the point extraction mission, which in that one you're specifically trying to get resources to the center point and then get them out. That one's really easy with the gunner zipline. The gunner zipline excels at that mission. Other than that, there's been a lot of argument within the community about whether or not the gunner is actually good at his name or not. I believe he is, and this is why. So, my primary that I go with is I'm going to sound super default and basic for this, but it's just his basic Gatling gun. And along with that, even more default and basic, the Bulldog, which is the fancy name of his revolver that he has, which is, again, his starting equipment. You only need the starting equipment for the gunner. The rest of it's fun, okay? I will admit that. The rest of it is fun, except for the coil gun. I will stick by the fact the coil gun is dumb and it's the worst choice for a gunner. Anyone who disagrees with me is wrong. I'm not even going to argue with it. They're just wrong. Moving on, though. With the Gatling gun, what I've done is I've made it to where it has. I have to remember which one's the skill point and which one's the overclock. One of these is a skill, or not a skill, but one of these is like the weapon
Like a base
mod.
upgrade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
base upgrade weapon mod. The other one is a damn, I just forgot what they're called.
Overclock.
Overclock. Thank you.
Which works kind of like a you have to proceed your character in order to get them. You have to find like special items within the game and like secure them. You can't just like buy it like you can a normal thing. And usually it comes with like pros and cons. So like you'll get a damage buff, but it'll take longer to reload, that kind of
Yeah. And there's 3 types. There's the safe, there's the balanced, and the or not. Is it safe? No, it's not called safe. Anyway, I'm calling it the green one, the yellow
Yeah.
one, and the red one. I'm not even gonna try to remember their names. Uh, but yeah, so the green one just has positives, but they're really small positives, like like a 5% increase to reload speed, like really
Yeah.
small stuff. And then the yellow one, that's your balanced. It has both a pro and a con. So it's like a higher reload speed, but you get less ammo kind
Yeah.
of thing. And
And then you get your red, which is like you do 10,000 times more damage, but every third shot you explode and get killed instantly. Not that dramatic, but it's the
no,
vibes.
but yeah, no, those are the most dramatic overclocks, and they're really fun to play around with. They can even fundamentally change your weapon entirely. And so that can be like, which is how I changed my gunner fundamentally. But anyway, these can be things like where a gun that usually is used to kill things is now completely used as a support gun. As in the Scout's boomstick, you can make it to where now, instead of doing damage, it launches you across the map.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with the Engineer's grenade launcher as well, I found out. Fun fact, that one does self damage. Fun fact, I died 3 times because it's silly.
So it'll launch your corpse across the map.
Yes. While also doing no damage to bugs. Okay, not no damage, but practically no damage. But anyway, what I've done with my gunner, which I think is really fun, I gave him one of the perks and one of the overclocks, and these two work perfectly together because one of them, again, I don't remember which one is which. One of them makes it to where any glyphid, which that's what the bugs are called, any glyphid that gets within like a small radius starts to take fire damage
Yeah.
because of how hot your gun is getting. The other thing is anytime your gun overheats, it quickly expels the overheating
And does
by
like fire damage.
doing
Yeah.
a fire AoE around you. So I've just perked him out just to do fire damage on close range, which pretty much means anytime any bug gets within like a couple feet of me, they're immediately erased,
It just erupts into flames.
immediately gone. Like it's not even a joke at that point. They're just boom, disappeared.
You spin up the Gatling gun, and it doesn't matter if you're firing at a wall, but everything around you in like a 10-foot radius just dies.
It is so funny to go up right behind like a Praetorian, which those are some of the bigger bugs, and just go right up behind it and then just watch its damage just go and just dead. But yeah, no, a lot of people complain that like gunner is like not good for doing high amount damage, but yet if you build out your weapons, like you can do some fun things with it.
I think it's because people just aren't that creative with it. People are afraid of the risk. They're like, oh well, that doesn't sound like something I would want. Like this is a red thing; it has a bad thing attached to it, so I'm gonna go with the green safe bet because they're cowards.
Yeah, the only safe overclock I ever use, and unless like I don't have any other overclocks, is the random damage one because it's silly.
It'll either do 1 hit point of damage or it'll
Well,
insta kill it.
it's a percentage. Your bullets either do 80% of their damage or 140. Or sorry. It's somewhere between 80
Yeah,
to 140.
it has a chance to land anywhere in that.
Yeah,
in
it
that
has a chance
spectrum.
of anywhere in there, and I think that's silly. I love
Yeah.
randomization. I think more games need like a gambler, like class where it's
Well-
like purely just like you've randomized all of your stuff. Like if I shoot you, there's a random chance that you now have an elemental effect that's a random elemental effect.
I love games like that that are that the game designer acknowledges that people just want to have fun. They're like, you're not playing by the rules. Deep Rock Galactic, and I can name a few other games off the top of my head, but it is a short list of instances where the developers go, well, this wasn't an intended feature, but you guys enjoy having this in the game so much that we're just like, if it starts off as a bug, it's like you guys enjoy having this so much that we're going to implement this as an actual feature because it's unintentionally a very good idea.
I have a really good story goes with that. So with the lithophage season that's been coming out, we've had 2 of those, and we're excited to figure out what the 5th season's gonna be because it's not gonna be lithophage, obviously, because they don't do 3 seasons in a row, right? Ghost Ship Games. I know you're watching. But anyway, what's really fun is when the lithophage season first began last season. They have these giant meteors that will come and enter
Yeah.
the planet.
And, like
you have
if
to,
you're
like,
in
crack
the
'em
way,
open.
if you're in the way of it, it'll just crush you.
Yeah,
And
you'll die
there's nothing
instantly.
you can do.
There was a bug, however, within the first week. For some reason, like it happened to a couple of people, where when it would happen, a miniature version of the lithophage meteor would land, and if you walked up to it, you couldn't really interact with it. But if you put your cursor over it, it would come up with like a little word that just said "small" meteor. Small spelled SMOL, by the way. Small meteor. There was nothing you could do with it. It was just there. And within a week, it was patched out. The That day when the patch note was released, the committee was like, "No, bring it back.
We want them small
We
meteor.
want the small meteor." And now it's an actual event in the game where instead of just the big meteor comes down, a group of small meteors will come down, and you can crack them open individually without having the rock crackers, which is really cool. That it was a bug in the game
Yeah.
originally, and whether or not they intended it to be a feature later on or not, it's still I like to think that it wasn't an intended feature, that they just made it into an intended feature because that's just really nice. Because also, if it was an intended feature, why wasn't it there at launch?
Right.
Kind of thing. Which I know most people be like, most things aren't at launch, but this is, the launch of the season. Usually, when content comes out for the season, that's it for the season. Next season, we get the new content. So, in case any, people are out there being like, ugh, grr, gaming companies. We're
Yeah,
not gonna get into
so
that conversation though.
another example that I can think of that is, funnily enough, in another space game that I love talking about is Satisfactory. And so the current state of dev is it's not fully released yet. It's in update 8 right now.
Yeah, I think
And
we're in
when
update.
I want to say when update 4 came out, there was so in update 3, people were getting really creative with the way that the foundations. So Satisfactory is the idea is you land on an alien planet, and then you basically take over it. You colonize it, and you make it into a factory planet to serve some greater purpose that we genuinely don't know yet as a community, because it's not in the game yet because they're still working on it and whatever else.
So excited to see what the story update is.
Me too. I am genuinely excited to see what all the work that I've done towards it. I hope it's just to just destroy the planet. It's like, good job, you did the job. Not actually. I feel like that would be
We
quite
gotta figure out what
tragic.
Samor is.
Yeah,
What is Samor?
we gotta know what it is. But there was something in the game called that the community called cheatcrete, and I don't remember the exact logistics of it. But basically, what it would allow the player to do is there was a certain bug if you placed items in a certain way that it would allow you to place foundation pieces and like building blocks in a way that you weren't intended to. So usually it'll snap to certain things. They're way you can't glitch things inside of one another. So like you would have a wall panel. Okay, well, what if you need a half wall panel? So you have a foundation here. You could glitch it halfway inside of it. Now it's not quite as long. Excuse me. When update 4 came out, they said, "Oh well, we're gonna fix that." Like this. They didn't know the community was doing this necessarily. I think that they saw people were doing it, but they didn't know how. So they said, "Oh well, we fixed this random bug," and it completely got rid of the cheat create method. And within a week, I want to say, the community managers were like, "We are so sorry. We genuinely didn't realize like how much you guys were using this. So now we're not only going to change. We're not only going to undo that, but we're going to completely change the focus of our next update. I believe update 5 completely changed the way that like the building mechanics worked, and now it allowed you to be like, it's like, yeah, you can follow our strict thing of like you have a foundation here and a wall piece here and you can't lock it inside it. Or, if you really wanted to, we don't mind if you glitch it inside of it because that looks better. So do whatever you want. Be creative with it. Like we're really like we didn't mean to take that creativity away from you. We want to encourage that actually. So they took what was a bug that they intended to patch and went, "Oh, you guys really like this? Okay, we'll make it a fundamental part of the game and something that I think sets it apart." A little bit of bias here. This is my favorite game like ever. A little bit of bias in that they took something that is loved by the community and completely shifted the focus of their game to feature it because they're just really, really good at listening to the community and what it is that they want.
Oh yeah.
And I would think that's super respectable. And obviously, I'm not a game developer, but if I was, I am envious of that level of community cooperation.
Oh yeah. Now, speaking of Deep Rock Galactic, I know, amazing segue. Because we just had a whole conversation not about Deep Rock Galactic. Anyway, the cheat creep method, I use it all the time. It's great for building.
Oh yeah,
especially if you want to do like a circular building.
yes,
You could do circular buildings. It's super cool.
I did an entire design that was it was a circular spiral train railway
Nice.
that used that method without even realizing what it was.
But anyway, we're gonna go into today's news segment. Da 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 da. Not Mario.
Bet, bet,
Da,
up, bet,
da,
bet, bet,
I
bet.
don't know. I
News,
don't know news. News.
news.
News. It's news time.
What's new? It's the news.
Got him. Anyway, for today's news segment, we're gonna talk a little bit about a little game called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
very excited because I've never heard of this before.
yeah. So as of September 27th, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor has released a demo. This exciting new addition to the DRG series is being developed by Fun Day Games, previously known as Fun Day Factory. This rogue-lite game will have you being sent down on Hoxie's 4 in a deep dive to find and eliminate the massive bugs known as dreadnoughts. Will you live to drink on the space rig again, or find yourself the next meal for the swarm?
So I'm looking at this and it's looking to be like it's a top-down horde. I hesitate to call it like horde shooter. It looks, the imagery reminds me a lot of a game like World of Warcraft, League of Legends type thing, where it's like you look top down and it's a lot of like you're controlling your character independently, but you also have your cursor to select things like that. And I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but it has the
Have
same
you ever
aesthetic to that.
played the game 20 Minutes Till Dawn?
I have not.
Okay, it's for anyone who wants to know. It's free on Android and iOS on the Play Store, or you can go and get it on Steam. But anyway, it's a very similar gameplay style. Where essentially in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, you enter the terrain and there is no shooting for you. Like you don't click a button to shoot. It is auto shooting. Which at first I was hesitant on that. I was like, "Ooh, this doesn't feel very good." It feels good once you have a couple of guns.
Yeah.
Once because like you can have up to 5 weapons shooting all at one time, and so each one has different, different like shooting styles. For example, of the guns that I've seen so far, you have because like the only class so far is the scout, so these are all scout weapons. You have your deep core, which that one just points at I believe it says the closest enemy, points at the closest enemy, and unloads like 5 or 6 rounds into them and then reloads. And then you have the shotgun, which looks at the closest enemy and shoots 5 bullets in a spray. And then you have the submachine guns, which they just shoot in 4 directions, and that's it. You don't get, there's no like close, far, nothing. It's just 4 directions, always just plus sign, just shooting. Uh, and then the other gun I played around with was the M1000. That one chooses the enemy with the most hit points and fires a piercing round at them.
I liked the idea of that.
That one is fun. However, don't have that one and the submachine guns. It doesn't work out very well for you. I should know I died. And then there's also your grenades as well. They give you options too. Like for example, I had the cryo grenade that just throws out to, I don't remember what its targeting was, but it just does like a cryo, area of effect kind of thing.
Freezes
And
the
then you
bugs
also have
where they
Bosco
stand.
with you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, my buddy Bosco, who's the little robot companion who follows you around. He just follows you around and just shoots stuff. But anyway, it's an auto shooter, so all you have to worry about is pretty much how it works is you get dropped down, and you're gonna go, and there's a timeline at the top of the game. And if you've advanced past the first mission, then now you also have side objectives you can complete. Side objectives are great; they give you tons of rewards. Um, but anyway, pretty much your goal is to survive until the elite enemy of the room has spawned. Then kill him, and then continue the deep dive. And you go through 5 stages of the deep dive each time, killing the elite of the room until you get to the 5th room, in which case the dreadnought is there. You have to take out 3 cocoons, which each have their own elite enemy. Once the 3 cocoons are destroyed, not when the enemies are killed, but once the cocoons are destroyed, the dreadnought spawns instantly.
So you said earlier that this is a roguelike.
Roguelite.
Roguelite. Okay.
There's
so
a difference.
My understanding is that it's basically the start of every game you start fresh.
You start with nothing. You start with one gun.
Yeah. So I have an interesting history with games like that. So there's a game a game on Steam called RoboQuest that was introduced to me, and that was the first roguelike that I had ever played, where you start at the beginning of the game, and then as you progress through it, you get perks and things, and based on what weapons you find, you build your character to this, and you can have preferences, but it's really kind of like going with whatever you find. So I'm going in with that mentality. So like
So in case you're not aware, the difference between roguelite and roguelike, this is for everyone as well, is roguelike means there is a permadeath system. There is no like your runs will never affect another run kind of thing.
right,
So once you've died, that's it. You lost everything. There's no like, oh, I made, like, you die, but you stash some gold and now you can get some upgrades for your next run. You can't do that. In a roguelite, you do get XP, you get gold, that kind of stuff. You can stash some stuff. So that way you get like permanent buffs.
okay,
Granted, the permanent buffs are always small, like, ones, twos, percentages, very small buffs. But over time, you get bigger and bigger buffs,
yeah.
and then you
You
also
can
you
continue building
unlock
those up.
more content as you go on. So that's a roguelite.
Okay,
So this is a roguelite. It's not a permadeath system. When you die, you just go back to the home screen and do all the fun stuff. Spend your monies that you got, and then you go back in and you go die again.
yeah. And that's so I think that's interesting too because like I always thought I was like, well, if I'm gonna play a game, I always want there to be some kind of progression. Like I want to feel like I've made a difference, like from the start of the game towards the end of the game, which is funnily enough the same reason I always have a problem restarting games. It's like, well, I don't want to start with nothing. So going into a roguelike or even a roguelite, I would always be like, I don't know. I don't really. But then I've played a couple of them now, and like even in games like just regular Deep Rock Galactic, I mean, you don't. There's not really that much progression to an extent. Like you get better and better stuff, but the goal is just that. I mean, the goal is the replayability. And the fun that you have along the way. It's not necessarily, oh, you're trying to get this much gold. Like I'm trying to think of games. You have this long quest line, and once you finish the quest line, what is there to do? The main focus of games like this is not in the completion of it. I mean, yeah, maybe there's some form of completion when you get to the end, but the second you do that, okay, start again. And it's the joy of playing it that's the focus, not the actual completion. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic because how many times have you been playing a game where you're like, okay, I finished the main story, now what? I want to play this game. I really like this game, but there's nothing left to do. You have to restart in those circumstances, or you just have to wander around town. A lot of the games that I like to play is like open world,
Mhm.
Do whatever you want games. It's like, okay, now I just go wrap up all the side quests and then have every single like NPC or whatever just be like, yeah, okay. In various games where it'll give you different endings. So we were talking about it before the show starts. Bethesda games a lot of times there's multiple options. In fact, a lot of times, like I'm thinking like Skyrim, there are so many options. You could probably play that game through 10 times and like have a very different character all the way through. But again, you still run into that where once you finish the main quest, for the most part, that's it. There's still other stuff you can do, sure, but why? The end goal is always to complete that main quest line. So games like this where you go, okay, well you did pretty good this time, but we're gonna reroll your stats and go try again. And it encourages you to not only play it multiple times, but also to get better at it while you're doing that.
And also do different play styles
Yeah.
as well, which is always fun.
Because I'm someone who throughout most games I play, I'm a rifleman build. I like weapons with slow fire rates that I can control that do a lot of damage in a single shot. Not quite to like a sniper level because I have bad aim, but a little bit lighter than that. And then it was only until recently that I was like, maybe I should branch out from this and try other play styles. Like I did a melee character in a couple of games and went, okay, yeah, this is different from what I'm used to. Maybe I really enjoy this.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of my favorite parts of those sorts of like rogue games where you can just like you can go into a run and you're like, okay, this run I'm doing this to kind of go a little bit into I know it's a little off topic, but going into 20 minutes till dawn.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is like I did a run in there where I had like pretty much almost like a perfect run. Like I only died like once kind of thing, which I was able to, watch a short video to respawn, typical mobile game things. But I only died once and like it was a really good run. I had a really good build. Like I could have just rebuilt that build again and just done the next run,
Right.
but I didn't. I went through. I did my next run. I was like, okay, time to do this completely different build, and I died almost instantly.
Now
'cause
I
it was
know
a
what
terrible
works.
build.
Now I know what works, and I would like to try something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like that build is really fun and really cool, but now I want to try something else. I was like, I'm gonna be a full summoner, and then I just immediately died. I haven't figured. I don't think you can do. You probably can do a full summoner build, but I haven't figured out how to do just a full summoner build. I know you're probably supposed to, like mix and match and all that fun jazz, but I was just like, I'm gonna do full summoner, and then just went in there and died. But anyway, a little bit more about Deep Rock Galactic Survivor before we kind of end the show off. Um, was So a little bit about the gameplay is while you're down there, like I said before, you're probably wondering, if it's an auto shooter, what is your goal kind of thing? Pretty much your goal is mostly movement based and strategically figuring out when you should mine or not. Because a big part of it, especially if you play like Deep Rock Galactic and games like that, a big part of the game is mining. And so what the game does, at least allows you to do, is that you can freely just run around and mine. And while you're mining, you're still shooting, kind of thing. However, it takes a while to do the mining. So if you have a swarm coming up to you, you can die really quickly if you're not careful with your mining. So you have to run around, try and like kite the enemies around you, figure out when you're supposed to mine, figure out if you need to keep mining. And ultimately, and also whenever you kill your enemies, they drop little XP orbs and you level up pretty quickly. So you're constantly getting every time you level up, all of you're constantly getting like 3 choices essentially. With cards, you have like 3 choice cards you can choose from. You only choose one of them though, every time. But it's a good selection. And usually these cards are very basic character stats, so like speed, mining, damage, health, shield. Very basic stuff. The more advanced things are like your actual guns. The cards upgrade, what your guns are doing. And every 5 levels, you get to choose between 3 guns, which gun you want to take with you. So you're constantly leveling up, constantly allowing yourself to do, upgrade your weaponry, get better and better. And the swarms just keep getting bigger and bigger. And I will say one thing, I do really enjoy the art style they've gone with it. So one of the other games they've made is Don't Die in the West, which has a very it's kind of like a similar art style to their Deep Rock Survivor.
It's very
Um,
like almost cartoony.
yes, they have that very cartoony vibe. And if you look at the animation of the actual like the glyphids in Deep Rock Survivor, it's very like that cartoony, exaggerated animation. One of the silliest ones though is the loot bugs. They kind of just undulate way more than normal.
They're like a little accordions.
Yeah, they're pretty much over here like just being accordions. Like in base Deep Rock Galactic, they're just waddling. But for some reason, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, they're just like, I'm going to caterpillar my way across the map, and I'm just like, it's kind of silly. But anyway, the actual enemies, and they're smaller than they are in like Deep Rock, but it also adds that more that cutesy vibe that this company has, and it's a really fun vibe. I really like it. They have a fun style they're going with. And it's nice to see that all their games kind of have that very similar style with it as
Yeah.
well. So it's nice to see that they're working towards, a style that they've kind of worked on their own. Anyway, that's everything we were gonna talk about for today. Okay, it's not really everything we were gonna talk about. There's plenty more we could talk about, but
Suggestions
that's all the time we have.
for more space games, go play Satisfactory, go play Astroneer. I hear that Space Engineers I used to play when I was a kid is a lot better than it used to be now. I haven't played it to confirm
Go
that.
play No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky is great. Elite Dangerous is hard.
Go play Starfield.
Starfield. I want to play Starfield really
Starfield's
badly.
so good.
But I'm poor, so I haven't been able to play it yet. And that's all the space games that I can think of off the top of my head. Thank you for having me,
Go play
Greg.
Deep Rock.
Go play Deep Rock.
He didn't say Deep Rock. He's a fake fan.
Well, we talked about it for 25
Cancel him
minutes.
on
I feel
Twitter.
like that's fine.
I'm sorry. Cancel him on X.
Don't X me. You'll give me the axe.
There were so many jokes I could have made, but I think we're just gonna end it.
Yep, that's the end of the
Anyway.
show. I'll never be on the show again for this
Nope.
reason. Goodbye.
Well, I've been your host, Greg Burns, and my co-host today, Thomas. We like to say thank you for listening to Proximity Chat, listening to it on UCM Radio, The Beat, and watching it on CTV. That's all.